cool.
Cool.
I'm going to tell the tower we have information November. So we're going to listen to the ground. There's a ground guy and a tower guy. The ground guy controls movement on the ground. Tower guy controls movement in the sky. Aurora ground, Remos 448 Romeo Alpha at the east ramp with information November, VFR to the south.
Aurora 1 Romeo Alpha, November 261 Romeo Alpha, Aurora ground runway 27 taxi Alpha.
448 Romeo Alpha, 27 V Alpha.
November 448 Romeo Alpha, Roger runway 27 taxi Alpha.
27 V Alpha, 8 Romeo Alpha. Alright, so go ahead and we're going to go this way. So when they say 27 V Alpha, Alpha is the letter of the taxiway. So instead of street names,
yeah,
they use letters. And 270 is the heading for west on the magnetic compass. So the runways are all numbered with the magnetic heading. And since the wind's kind of out of the southwest today, we're going to use the westbound runway. We seem to have the hang of that. A lot of people have trouble with their feet, how sensitive it is, you know?
Yeah, we built a lot of golf carts out of 2x4s and lawnmower wheels growing up, so it was all...
Where'd you grow up?
Here in Minneapolis.
Okay. Okay, so you're going to go straight this way, and then we'll catch a line over here. Alpha is this front taxiway here going to the left to the right. We're going to go that way, and then the end of the runway is right there. Nice job. So see, there's not much to it. Learning a new vehicle is really the...
Go that way?
Yep. Not a big deal. It's really the rules of the road type stuff, you know, the rules and regulations. Just like driving a car.
Yeah.
You had to learn it all. It was new at one point. Yep. If you keep us on the center line, I'd be impressed. Yeah, that way. It gets backwards sometimes, doesn't it? I'm going to use our brake just a little bit to slow us down. All right, so I want you to go past this, go straight ahead. What we're going to do is kind of turn ourselves into the wind so when we do our run-up. So keep it going wide here. All right, cool. Now cut it in to the left. And straighten your nose wheel out. And we're going to stop here. So this does two things. For engine cooling, it gets wind over the engine. We're going to run the engine up to test our systems before we leave. And if there's an airplane that pulls up behind us, we're not blowing them with our propeller blast.
Yeah.
Okay? So our checklist for takeoff. Brakes are set.
Set. Verify oil temperature over 120.
There's the oil temperature. It says 150.
RPM 4,000.
All right. And we're going to check our left and right ignition. So I'm looking here. Here's left. Back to both. Here's right. Back to both. So about 100 RPM. That's okay. Max drop is 300. I'm going to check my carburetor heat. So this gives me about 10 RPM drop. There it is. And back to idle. Okay. Check engine instruments. Is everything in the green? Yes, it is.
Like it. Flight controls, full range.
I'm going to do a big box. Make sure they're moving the correct direction, that there's nothing binding them up.
Altimeter set.
Remember, they gave us that number 2985. That's the barometric pressure today. So that's our set altimeters.
All right. Transponder, squawk 1200 or assigned.
1200. Normal takeoff.
Takeoff.
So flaps 0 degrees. Trim, we're going to put right in the middle.
Okay. Electric fuel pump on.
On.
Brakes off.
Brakes will come off when we get our clearance.
Throttle full.
Okay. So we're kind of briefing this part. Climbing 88 miles an hour, just like the DeLorean.
Hey, Cubs are going to win this
I
year.
swear we didn't do that on purpose.
It's lawful. Rotate VR 35.
Rotate speed, yep.
Climb 88. After positive climb.
Flaps up. Flaps are already up.
Low temperature monitor.
Okay. We're going to stow this away. We're going to switch over to our control tower frequency. We're going to wait a second, make sure that we're not talking over someone. Aurora Tower, Remos 448 Romeo Alpha, ready at 27.
Remos 448 Romeo Alpha, Aurora Tower, left turn to the south is approved. Runway 27 clear for takeoff. Wind 210 at 10, gust 16.
27 clear for takeoff, the left turn to the south, 8 Romeo Alpha. Okay, steer us straight ahead to the end of the runway. Once we get onto the runway, we'll turn to the center line. So one of the things we always do is check final. It's kind of like looking both ways before you cross the street. I just make sure no one's landing on top of us.
Grumman 28866, Aurora Tower.
Go straight ahead here.
Right downwind, runway 27, report midfield ident.
Report midfield and ident.
Cool. Now start turning us and lining us up with the center line. So get your left hand on the controls.
Grumman 866, traffic.
You're going to fly us with me, okay?
3 miles.
There we go.
Altitude indicates 3,400 northwestbound. Type
We're going to pull the nose up.
866, yeah, we have traffic.
We're going to take off just a little crooked because of the crosswind today. There we go, and we're up.
Nice and easy.
All right, so now all we're trying to do at this point is just hold our wings level. We're going to hit a few bumps on the way up because the wind's coming over all these trees. All right, so I'm going to let you totally take control. You got it now. Keep my hand on the power here until we get a little bit higher. Bring your nose up just a shade. There you go. See how sensitive it is?
Yeah.
Now, move your stick to the left nice and gentle. We're going to make a left-hand turn. Nice work.
For airport information, Oscar altimeter 29er.
Ease your nose up just a little bit more. We're going to keep climbing. Nice job. All right, roll our wings level. So now we're pointed south. We'll climb up a little bit, see if it smooths out, and then we'll work on some turns and stuff.
All right.
So basically the key is here, we're in their airspace. They have a 4-mile ring around their airport, and so we need to get out of their airspace before we kind of do some maneuvers and stuff like that. Nothing to it, right?
No.
Awesome.
No, real nice and easy.
And it jumps off the runway. I mean, you're not used to an airplane that comes off the ground that fast. What your feet do is they control that vertical rudder on the back. So right now, to keep the tail right behind the airplane, we just need a little bit of right rudder. But you just squeeze it. I mean, it's a little tiny amount. And it should smooth out here any minute. So the rudder, what it does is it keeps that tail right behind us. So in a turn, when the tail wants to fall to the inside, that's kind of how we control what they call coordinated flight. Keeps everything nice and square. The way you know if you're coordinated is you can kind of feel it in your seat. It's like going around a turn in a car, so you feel like we're kind of leaning to the right. This little ball right here tells you the same thing. See how it's to the right? So step on the ball. So if the ball's to the right, step on the ball to try to keep it centered. See? And you kind of feel like you're, okay, we're centered again. Go ahead and lower your nose, nice and gently.
14 Charlie,
pull our power back.
11 o'clock, 3 miles. Northbound altitude indicates 3,100.
Traffic in sight for 14.
The level at 2,600 feet.
14 Charlie, roger.
If you want to take any pictures, you can. Feel free. So it kind of feels like we're going this way, and we are. So if you look straight down, our path is actually like southeast.
Yeah.
It's because the wind is from the southwest. It's the west part of that wind is pushing us that way. So you could turn to the right a little bit, kind of point us into the wind a little bit more. Right about there. Hold your wings level. Beautiful.
Cherokee 14 Charlie, will you be remaining outside the Delta?
Once we're outside of their blue circle there,
Cherokee
I'll be able to shut them off.
Approved.
Thanks, 14 Charlie.
Remos 8 Romeo Alpha exiting the Delta, frequency change approved.
Frequency change approved, 8 Romeo Alpha, thanks. Okay, now we can just talk. It's tough to listen to when you have that chatter going on in the background. So we're climbing a little bit, so lower your nose just a hair. There you go, right there. So straight and level at this speed's about 4 fingers from the dashboard up to the horizon.
Oh, wow.
So that's what you're looking for, that side picture. So if the nose starts creeping up, then you kind of reset it. And you verify that by looking in here and saying, what's my vertical speed? Yeah, if you want to take some pictures, dude, feel free. You're flying. So that's kind of the first thing is the attitude flying. We teach people you don't need any of this, basically. Yeah. You could look out the window and fly straight and level all day. Why don't you make a turn to the right? So you're going to roll to the right? Perfect. We're going to kind of go southwest for a little bit into the wind. So the big thing with airplanes when you're flight planning is, like on a day like today, it's really apparent. So we're heading straight into the wind. So it's kind of like being on a kayak in a river. we're like basically paddling upstream now. So our ground speed's only 55 miles an hour, but our air speed's almost 90 miles an hour, right? We're fighting that current. Once we're up in the wind current, we can't really feel much, right, as far as bumps. It's when we try to land on that fixed point on the ground like a runway. All right, so I'll take the controls for a sec. I'm going to show you a couple things. So we'll stay level here. This is basically level, and it looks like we're diving because of the big windshield.
Yeah.
So hands off if you look. The airplane's designed to fly straight and level. It's really sweet. If we turn, we move the stick and our feet at the same time, and the goal is to keep that weight in the center of your chair or the ball in the center of the two lines there. So when we roll to the left, I go a little bit of left stick, a little bit of left foot, and then when we're in the turn, I just center the control again. Back to the right the same way, a little bit of stick, a little bit of foot. All right, why don't you try one? Perfect. Now in the turn, the airplane starts to descend just a little bit, so just squeeze the stick back towards you just a little bit in the turn. So when we're straight level, we're good, but when we turn, we actually turn the wing over sideways. We need to add just a little bit of back pressure, a little bit less, so we're climbing. So right there. Beautiful. Very intuitive to fly.
Yeah.
A lot of people think flying is very difficult. It's not a difficult skill to master.
No, it's just a little touch here and there.
Really, the thing that most people get psyched out about is talking on the radio. They feel like they're going to goof it up or something. Then make a left turn. You can go steeper if you want to try. And the steeper you go, you'll feel you got to pull the stick back a little bit more each time. Beautiful coordination. Your ball's dead in the center. One of the things that's kind of fun to do if you're up for it, since you kind of are comfortable in the airplane already, we can go down over the river and fly the river.
Yeah.
Down at 500 feet. So what we'll do is we'll start down here and we'll go that direction. And it's kind of a cool challenge because you're going to have to try to keep us over the river with the different wind current stuff. All right, so to descend, interestingly enough, a lot of people think up and down is with the stick. Actually, up and down kind of trims you for your speed. The power controls our climb and descent. So if we do nothing with the stick, so watch the airplane will just start descending for us nice and gently.
Slowly start sinking.
Yeah, if we want to shallow our descent, we just add a little bit of power. But it's kind of a cool setup because then for passengers, it's a nice, comfortable descent. It's not like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
You just shove the stick forward, you'll go zero gravity, you know? Which can be fun, I guess. But. So go ahead and line us up with the river. We'll keep descending here. Great coordination.
Thank you.
And let that nose come down. There you go. Sometimes I spend a lot of time with people just getting them comfortable in the air. So since you're already comfortable, we'll kind of just do this because it's a fun little exercise. I'll do that with pilots in their pilot training because what it teaches them is, you know, if the wind's out of the southwest, their nose won't be pointed straight down the river.
Yeah.
So if you want, you can kind of make a 360. You can make a left 360 if you want. That'll lose us some altitude, and then by the time we kind of roll out, we'll go right down the river to the west. You can see kayakers down there. Kind of cool. A real fun flight's when we go fly the skyline. That's really pretty.
Yeah, I bet.
We have a cool city to do that. It only takes like, you know, maybe a half hour to get down there. Make a couple passes up and down the lake shore. What do you do for work?
Sales.
Oh, okay.
I just started a new gig. I was in recruiting. I'm in like software sales now.
Okay.
Like media and PR intelligence kind of company.
Yep. That's cool. You enjoy it?
So far, so good.
Nice. Yeah, recruiting's tough business.
Yeah.
I did that for a little bit. And did you work downtown?
Yep.
Cool.
Prudential buildings are right at the north end of Grant Park.
Yep.
Millennium Park.
Our family owns a business. What is? I don't remember. It's like the Diamond Tower. I don't know what they call it. The name of that. It's right down the street from you.
I don't
right
remember.
on the corner.
Yeah, I know which one it is. I don't remember what that building is called though.
That's a nice area though.
Yeah.
There's a cool restaurant over by the Prudential Tower up top or something, right? You could.
I think so.
Kind of like a sun bar type thing. You ever been to Old Crow downtown?
Yep.
That is a cool place. So the neat part about a river is we know there aren't any cell phone towers or anything like that, right? Because it's a river.
Yeah.
So
no obstacles.
So basically what I'm doing, as a pilot, I'm deciding where's our out, like defensive driving sort of, right? So if we had an issue with the engine or something, I'm always thinking, okay, what field would we aim for? And that's something we train you when you become a pilot. Bring your nose up just a little bit. I want to hold it right about at this altitude. So right about here, a little bit lower on the nose, right there. That'll hold us level. You can feel the choppiness a little bit because the wind's coming over the tops of the trees, creating a little bit of a rotor. Now in the summertime it's cool because with the doors off you could like smell the river, and there's a hawk right there. Wild. It's pretty funny how comfortable you are. It's like you've been already convinced that this is cool and it's fun to do.
Oh, absolutely convinced. I've never gotten a chance to fly before.
Yeah. I like letting people fly. I think, because I get to fly all day. I like when people want to fly. Some people do come to an intro ride and they say, well, I just want to go for an airplane ride. That's the coolest thing, though, to leave and say, I sat in the pilot seat. I did it. And sometimes the bumps really bother people. So what's going on is we're getting a little bit of bumps from, like I said, the wind coming over these trees, but we're also getting a little bit of, now the day's going on, when the sun heats up the ground, it creates thermals.
Yep.
And so what we're doing is flying through some updrafts, and that's where you feel the wings bump around a little bit. Yeah, if you want to, looking out the window, you could see so much more, too, when you fly at this altitude.
Oh, yeah.
I really like flying down, 1,000 feet off the ground, because you can see so much, especially when the trees are about to turn, like next week, the fall colors down the river, really cool flights. So just like descending, and we'll follow the river around the bend here for a little bit. To climb, all we got to do is add power, right? If we add thrust to the equation, then the airplane ends up going a little bit faster. And if we don't change anything with the pitch, right, then the airplane will start climbing. We're putting more air over the wings, which generates more lift. Kind of fun, isn't it? All right, so go ahead and push your power in, full power. Let the nose come up. I want you to try a couple things. So a climbing turn is something we do on takeoff. So when you turn to the left, you actually won't have to put in your left foot because the engine torque, what they call P factor, is pulling us to the left. So just roll the wings to the left and just kind of let off the right rudder a little bit, and just hold our bank angle. And we just basically do that by looking out the horizon and look at the dashboard, making the angle stay the same. Now try one to the right, and you'll notice you got to use a lot more right foot than you're used to because that engine torque's pulling us to the left. Here you go. If we want to go back to level, we could just pull our power back to where it was, And then those will settle back down and we'll be going 100 miles an hour again. Really, that's the key, is kind of remembering, like, okay, what performance numbers are there? Like, you know, what power setting gives me what speed, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you figure that out pretty quickly.
It's pretty easy to adjust, too.
It is.
Figure it out.
Yeah, so you got a friction lock here. It's like a little rubber thing that keeps some tension on it so it doesn't slide back out. That's nice. So once you set it, it's basically locked in place, like cruise control.
Yeah.
So Aurora is actually off our right side. You follow this pink line. It's kind of like your GPS, except it doesn't follow roads. It just draws a straight line between points. Just make a right-hand turn, and we'll try to line that up. Listen to our weather again.
Visibility 10, sky clear. Temperature 23, dew point 11, altimeter 2983.
2983, so go ahead and adjust that knob to 2983.
Landing and departing runway 2718. We have all departures advised ground control of your direction of flight. Notice the airmen, runway 33 glide slope out of service. The Mike 1 ramp is closed and unusable. Use caution for soaring operations at Hinckley Airport.
Perfect.
And use caution for birds in the vicinity of Aurora Airport. Advise on initial contact. You have information. Oscar.
Oscar. So go ahead and lower your nose just a little bit so we're level.
Aurora Airport information.
There you go.
Oscar 1652 Zulu weather. Wind 220 at 11 gusts 17. Visibility 10. Sky clear. Temperature 23. Dew point 11. Altimeter 2983. GPS.
Okay, so we have information, Oscar. Come to our left just a little bit. So we want to make this pink line straight up and down. So right there. And now this will update. It's not instantaneous. They're going to fly us back into the airport. I'm going to call the tower and let them know we're coming. Aurora Tower, Remos 448 Romeo Alpha is 8 miles to the southwest, inbound with Oscar.
Remos 448 Romeo Alpha, Aurora Tower, enter left downwind runway 27, report midfield.
Left downwind for 27, report midfield, 8 Romeo Alpha. So when she said downwind for 27, we're going to land on the runway we took off. Imagine sort of like an entrance and exit ramp on a highway. There's a rectangle around each runway in the sky at a certain altitude. So ours is at 1,700 feet. And everybody coming in and out of the airport uses that as sort of an entrance or an exit ramp to the runway. So what we're going to do is when we're on our downwind, we're going to be flying right next to the runway heading to the east. And we're going to call them and remind them we're there. And then we'll land flying that rectangle and turning back into the wind. You picked a good day to come out.
Yeah, beautiful day.
Yeah.
No clouds, no nothing.
Exactly.
Problem was getting out of the marathon.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so do we. And we both live on the inside of the route, so we had to move our cars to the outside, run across, and cut through the marathon.
I used to live on Congress Avenue downtown in the Loop.
Yeah.
And then I moved out actually to Plano, Illinois. And I remember all those things. It's even grocery shopping was difficult. Come back, your parking spot's gone.
Yep.
They're like, sweet. I like Lincoln Park. I went to school up there for a little bit at DePaul University.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right off Diversey, halfway between Clark and Sheridan.
Cool. How'd you end up in Chicago? Just work?
Partly work, partly family. I grew up in Minneapolis.
Yep.
My brother and sister moved here out of college.
Cool.
So it just kind of made sense for me to come here.
Nice.
Family slowly relocated.
So your family's down here too now?
Well, they are, their families. My parents are down in Florida now. They'll probably get a place up here.
Cool. Go ahead and let the nose down a little bit. We'll start descending.
We've all slowly moved here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Slightly warmer in the winter?
Just a little bit.
All right, so I'm going to help take over as we come in. Big thing we're doing here is we got a little checklist for our landing. So if you want to bust this out, read through it. It's on the inside flap. Okay, we're going to do a normal landing.
Electric fuel pump on.
Fuel pump's on.
Carb heat on.
Carb heat will be on when we get the pattern.
Alright. Throttle idle.
It will be when we slow down.
Alright. Flaps down.
And we'll put them in.
Okay.
So basically what we're doing is like prepping or briefing our landing. Cool, so we can put that away.
Alright.
We're just making sure, the big thing there is making sure the fuel pump's on.
Yeah.
Grumman 866, exiting Delta, frequency change approved.
The airplane will run without a fuel pump on. There's two in this airplane. There's an electric backup, which is on, and then there's a mechanical fuel pump in the front. What we did, remember you shut it off right as we started?
Yep.
We were verifying both of them work. Okay, so right now, when we use automotive fuel, the manufacturer says you have to leave this on the whole time. So we do. So we're coming down to 1,700 feet, and this is MSL, mean sea level. So that's why you're like, wait a second, we're on the ground at 700 feet. So you can see that's Aurora Airport. There's 3 big runways. We're going to be landing that way. And I'm going to go ahead and take the landing just because you haven't landed before.
That's totally fine.
Takeoffs are optional, but the landings are mandatory. So. You're welcome to stay on the controls with me and feel all the movements.
Alright.
That's a good learning experience. But that way if I need to think fast, right? Then,
Yeah.
and we get you landing pretty soon. I mean, when you're in lessons, you know, you learn how to land. Obviously, you got to land. I mean, every time you come back. So you pick that up pretty quickly. Now we're kind of just level off here. And we're going to turn eastbound. Aurora Tower 8, Romeo Alpha, midfield.
Remos 8, Romeo Alpha, wind 220 at 12, gust 16, runway 27, clear to land.
Clear to land on 278, Romeo Alpha. Now we're flying parallel. I pull carburetor heat, okay? That prevents ice from forming in our carburetor. Actually, as it sucks the air through, it compresses and then expands again real fast, so it could actually cool the air enough, cause a little bit of frost in there. Now I'm looking at the big numbers on the runway. Across from the big numbers, I'm going to pull my power. Now the power's at idle, so we're just coasting. And I'm putting my flaps down, so if you look out on the wings, you can see the flaps coming down.
Yep.
That changes how the airplane feels and flies. So you notice how it's a little bit more nose down now. As we come in, those flaps allow us to land a little bit slower. This is called the base leg. So now we're flying perpendicular to where we're landing. Open out everything, checking no one else is coming in. And we're going to turn final, which is lined up with the runway. This looks really funky too because we got a tailwind, so see how it tries to push us past the runway?
Yeah.
We're kind of using that wind to push us over. So we look crooked, right? What we're going to do before we land is we're going to line everything up down the runway, so might get a little bumpy as we get behind these buildings here. So it's a lot of little movements all at once. Our nose is lined up. We're banked into the wind just a little bit. There we go. One wheel's down. Two wheels are down. Whew, little gust of wind.
Remos 8, Romeo Alpha, turn left at Alpha 3, taxi to parking on this frequency. Have a good day.
Left at Alpha 3 to parking, 8 Romeo Alpha, stay with you. There we go.
Cool.
All right, get your feet back on the pedals. I'll let you drive back. Go ahead and make a left-hand turn here. Go ahead and follow this line up. And then we're going to make a left-hand turn after all these airplanes that are parked. Real nice job.
Thanks.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did.
Awesome.
Definitely did.
So we're going to head at that blue dumpster.